Hello, friends, and greetings to the people of Trinity Cathedral and anyone else who might be watching from wherever you are. My name is B.J. Owens. I'm the Dean of Trinity. As we're moving into the last few days of the Advent season, first, I'm so grateful to our congregation members who have offered some really wonderful reflections on the Advent season. So I give thanks for that. I'm also thinking about that as we move through the last few days of Advent, in this Advent like no other, moving into a Christmas season that in its own way is a season like no other. And I'm reflecting a little on how we approach the story when so much of our life is disrupted. And of all the things we've lost, there's a sense of what we're losing by not having the usual traditions, whether that's traveling to be with family, whether that's coming to be in the cathedral and lighting candles and singing Silent Night, one of my absolute favorite parts of our whole Christian life together. So I'm really grieving not doing that as well. But if we look a little deeper at where we are, why we're separated from one another, and what's going on in the world, perhaps we can see with new eyes the Christmas story at a deeper level. I was reading this week something by Sam Wells, a book, Incarnational Ministry, about the word with, what it means to be with God, with one another, with creation, and how that informs our life together. But one comment we'll throw away about Christmas is not a Christmas book, but he says, when a congregation reads the Christmas story, does it concentrate on the cozy stable and the lowing oxen, which certainly is a part of my nostalgic recollection of what Christmas is all about? Do we focus on that, or do we focus on the draconian census, the fact that the Holy Family were migrating, they were far from their home? This is a story about shepherds who are out in the cold, about a family that's completely vulnerable at one of the most holy and sacred times in their life together. That makes me think about what it means to be vulnerable today. We're going through this pandemic together. And we're all going through the same pandemic, and we are all equal in the face of it, right? COVID does not care who we are, what we look like, where we're coming from. But we don't all experience it the same way. And one person said in the past few weeks, I can't recall who said it, but I'll just say it wasn't my idea, but it's a good one, which is that the storm is the same for everybody, but we're not all in the same boat. Some folks are in a yacht, some folks are in a cruise ship, some folks are in a canoe, and some folks are in a raft that's barely holding together, if it is at all. Imagine logs that are tied together that as the waves come, they just break apart, and there's no way to hold on and to keep from falling beneath the water. I think that's an incredibly apt metaphor, and I tell it one to tell the truth, and the other by way of confession. I'm certainly not in a yacht or a pleasure or a cruise ship, but I am in a watertight vessel, I think. Got our whole family here together, happy to be together every once in a while. We wish we had a few more decks, but we are, to use the metaphor, we are in a safe place, relatively speaking, and we realize that that is not true for everyone. And you may be watching this, and you may be feeling incredibly vulnerable right now. And I think it's important to hold this. We can all hold this as a part of awakening our understanding of this season and this story, because what that does is that introduces us to the one who came to live among us, not in comfortable and safe places, but in the most vulnerable and sometimes frightening places in our lives. And it helps for us to see those who are really going through that. This is a moment when we see that not everyone goes through it in the same way, because of the way that our world is and is structured. And as Christians, the Christmas story, the Christmas commitment, is to do more than simply sit by the lowing oxen, though that is an important thing and an important part of who we are. It's also to realize that there is a lot of pain in the world, that there's a lot of brokenness, there's a lot of people who are vulnerable. And if we can see and be with them, and if we can welcome Christ into our lives when we are particularly vulnerable, And what we do is we begin to see the Christmas story at a far deeper level. Blessings to each and every one of you. As we move into these final quiet days of a beautiful season of prayer and preparation, as we welcome the story, as we tell the story and welcome Christ into our heart, as we share that story with those around us. Blessing to each and every one of you, and thank you so much for listening.